Good morning, everybody. It feels a bit early to be doing a talk, I know, but thank you for coming away from your shopping to listen to me. Forgive me if I'm a little bit all over the place today. I got confused this morning trying to check out between a double and a twin room, so that just tells you a little bit about my mental state at the moment. It's been another very, very busy year at RComp, for which we thank you all for your custom. Our primary focus has been on the computer systems, and this year I'm pleased to be able to offer not one but two exciting RISC OS systems in the form of the ARMX6, which you see at the bottom, and our new time machine system, which you see at the top. It's an interesting state of affairs because normally with computers you find that you produce one and then a couple of years later you produce another one, and it does everything the previous version did, only it does it faster and better, etc. So one supersedes the other. In the case of the new titanium and time machine system that we've got, we're actually got a unique situation where our existing ARMX6 has significant strengths that the time machine doesn't have, and vice versa. So we're in the luxurious position of being able to offer two extremely high-end and high-quality RISC OS systems for different horses for courses, essentially. The primary difference between the two machines is that the titanium machine offers a little bit more in the way of performance, but is more limited on its graphics capability. So, for example, the highest screen resolution you'll get out of the titanium's graphics at the moment is 1920 by 1080, so-called 1080p. You'll get actually do 1920 by 1200. The actual limit is 2000 by 2000. Whereas the ARMX6 will actually go up to a full 4K resolution. You may have seen televisions marketed as 4K. You can now buy 4K monitors for about £200, 200-250 range, so they're crashing down in price. So basically you've got the ARMX6, which has got the fantastic graphics output and very high performance. You've got titanium with slightly lesser graphics output, but even more performance, and a spangly case. So two different systems. The ARMX6, you know from last year, it's now got a sort of year-long track record. It's been our best-selling system by a country mile, and we basically had no problems with it. I think we had one dead board that died on our test bed during the year, and one customer reported that he wasn't quite sure about his solid-state disk, so we replaced it, took back his solid-state disk, and I've been using it ever since. So, goodness only knows, but suffice to say, we've been very pleased with the reliability of the ARMX6, and over the year we've produced this, we're on our 7th operating system upgrade. Each one has added new features, expanded what the ARMX6 can do. So our recent updates for ARMX6 have included the ability to do audio via HDMI. On the stand you will see a HDMI soundbar, which we go HDMI from the computer into the soundbar, HDMI out from the computer into the screen, and that gives you amazing high quality hi-fi audio. That also supports Bluetooth, so you can have it music from your phone and traditional connections for into other computers and things with a little remote control to select your input. And that obviously sounds terrific. With the very latest operating system upgrade, we can now do up to 190. Normally computers run at about 44. An ordinary audio CD is 16-bit, 44 kilohertz sound. The ARMX6 via HDMI can now do up to 192 kilohertz, which is basically as high as hi-fi audio goes. So you can see and understand that is, we're doing some pretty fantastic stuff. You can feed that straight into a hi-fi amplifier and get basically perfect quality sound. It's all digital, so there's no loss in the analog phase all the way through, and it's up to your hi-fi equipment to deal with how good the digital to analog ultimately sounds. But that means absolutely stellar audio along with the stellar picture. Again, on the stand you can see a lovely big wide monitor, which is It's not a 4K screen because I actually found the 4K screens a little bit hard to see because everything's a little bit too small, whereas the big wide ones, they offer sort of 3/4 of the 4K, if you like, but everything's just at a comfortable size, so you can actually use every single pixel without having to sort of squint and look at it. So you'll be able to see that on the stand. I couldn't really bring that through, it'd be a bit awkward. As well as the HDMI audio, the latest RMX6 upgrade supports USB audio as well, so you can now plug in USB audio sources straight into RMX6 and be able to play back music and things through USB connected speakers or USB audio DACs, which are plug-in things that make nice sound, in simple terms. So lots of work on the audio side there. Obviously performance has also increased. There was, I think, a 15 to 20% performance increase with memory related stuff in the latest ROM. So we keep moving forwards with the RMX6. And since February we've also been selling the titanium machine, which offers the extra performance, but it's still a little bit on the raw side. The biggest quirk with the titanium is the fact that unlike the RMX6, titanium by default internally swaps the red and the blue component of the colour compared to what RISC OS expects. Now the operating system itself has been coded to actually handle this transparently, but some applications bypass the operating system, and that means that in some applications, for example artworks, you get red-blue colour switch, so things that you expect to become blue actually become red on the screen. Now Martin has fixed that in the latest Artworks update that he's got at the show, but until the Artworks viewer is updated, programs that rely on Artworks like impression and basically anything that uses the AW render stuff, there's quite a few programs handle Artworksy stuff through that, they will all essentially red-blue switch. Similarly in NetSurf, if you use the operating system routines to render the graphics in NetSurf, everything looks correct. If you use some of the fancy dither methods, you get the colour switching. So software is being updated and coming along nicely, but there's still a little bit of a rough edge there. On the flip side, the titanium bowls along extremely nicely. As you can see, we have a lovely case. It has a secondary video output, so although you're only limited to 1920 by 1080 or 1920 by 1200, there is a secondary video output. At the moment this is sort of rather rough and ready, but work is being done to activate that second video output so you can connect a secondary screen on the titanium system. At the show we've also launched a version of our support schemes that we offer for people who do DIY systems. So if you're, as you may know, you can get the titanium as just a raw motherboard from the LSR company. If you choose to do that and do your own setup, then you can join the titanium support scheme, which basically gives you all the goodies that a time machine would have, including access to our operating system versions, software compatibility stuff, screen resolution stuff to give you a sharper picture, more compatibility with existing software, things work more reliably, I'm told, by people who have subscribed. And so that's now available. It comes on a micro SD card that just slots into the titanium motherboard. Obviously you don't need that if you buy the computer from us, but we're now offering that to people. Basically, it was somewhat forced upon me when I ended up in a situation where a customer was needing some fairly heavy technical support on a titanium. And since he bought it himself, it was really I either didn't help him or I had to offer the titanium support scheme to get him up to where he needed to be with all the software and bits and pieces that he would have got if he bought direct. So, so now that we've done that for him, we've rolled it out publicly, and a couple of other people inquired before the show, which now all sorted. So that's now available at the show as well. So 2 systems. The RMX6 continues to be our primary seller. Obviously the titanium, as it matures, I think will come on as well. But basically, if you're after a computer that is as compatible as possible with your existing stuff, extremely fast, high quality graphics, I would go with the RMX6 system. If you're looking for cutting edge, absolute fastest, then nothing beats the time machine in that bracket. The RMX6 starts at £699, the time machine starts at £899, so there is a price difference between the two. But I think whichever you pick, both will give you absolutely first-class experiences. I mean, basically, we don't sell anything that we're not happy to sell. That's why we didn't launch the time machine back when the titanium board launched in November last year, because we weren't happy with the stability at that point. We wanted to wait until the machine was fit for what we considered to be. We wanted our customers to be happy when they purchased the machine. So, those are the two systems that we've got. I urge you to come and check those out on the stand. We're still doing our RISC cube range, you don't hear a lot about the RISC cubes and RISC books. Those combine Windows and RISC-OS in one system, but they continue to be extremely popular. It feels like sort of one day I'm doing an RMX6, the next day I'm doing a RISC cube, and sort of every other day really. So that's our hardware range. We're also been updating our software in the last 12 months, as you might expect. There's no rest for the wicked, that's for sure. So the main 3 releases that I'm going to talk about briefly in the talk, and that's where the screen will hopefully come in, are Fireworks Pro 2, the new NetFetch 4, and we're going to finish with the new updated Final Doom that we launched for entertainment. So starting with Fireworks Pro, this is where I find out whether I've actually got the latest version installed on this system. You can't get the stuff now. Right. Well, in that case, I'll have to talk about Fireworks, and my apologies. This is where it pays to be from the ball planned. It's on the other machine on the stand. Fireworks Pro 2. The big enhancement in Fireworks Pro 2 was support for the ability to save your work in Microsoft Excel format. Fireworks Pro for some time has had the ability to load a file from Microsoft Excel into itself. But the problem was, if you did any work on that Excel spreadsheet and you wanted to send it back to somebody else, you couldn't, which was a fairly fundamental flaw. The reasons for this were quite significant, that many of Fireworks' functions were not identically compatible to Microsoft's functions. So if you made changes and things, they would reflect Fireworks' functions, not Microsoft functions. So when you saved out, it wouldn't match. So the big raft of work in Fireworks Pro 2 was implementing over 100 additional functions into Fireworks to be fully compatible, not just with Microsoft, but with the Open Doc standard for LibreOffice, etc. as well. So Fireworks Pro 2 will use these functions transparently when you import a foreign spreadsheet, and then when you save your work out in Microsoft Excel format, it will use these compatibility functions to ensure that all the work that you do in Fireworks carries over to other platforms. This has also included work on better handling of graphics importers and converters as well. And the Excel importer has also received some significant improvements in terms of the sort of handling like cosmetic elements of a spreadsheet, so colours, fonts, etc. are all preserved, as well as the formulas and what have you. And again, those are saved out when you save out your Excel work. So that's quite a significant step forward for RISC-OS in terms of compatibility with other platforms, because obviously with programs like EasyWriter, TechWriter, you've got Microsoft Word compatibility. Now with Fireworks Pro 2, you've got read-write Excel compatibility for spreadsheets as well. There have been other improvements in Fireworks Pro 2 as well. For example, things like mail merge simply didn't seem to work when we actually tried to use them with the previous versions. It's been completely rewritten for Fireworks Pro 2. So that's all now set. The user interface has received a major overhaul. It feels the same, but it's now all customizable, so you can control font usage, sizes of elements. You can make the user interface larger if your eyesight's not so good, and so on and so forth. So it's all now very flexible in its presentation. The standard layouts have been improved to make them more compatible with loading other documents from the outside world, and I think the total number of the full change log covered, I think it was 7 to 8 A4 pages front and back. So there was a lot of new stuff in Fireworks Pro 2. So that's available now. I believe the upgrade price, I think, is £20. New copies are about £40. For Fireworks Pro 2. NetFetch 4, hard to demonstrate because you need an internet connection and be fetching your email. Primary changes in NetFetch 4 were the ability to handle top bit set characters. When you receive emails, it will decode foreign language headers so that when you're using the anti-spam or the email and server features, you will actually see a properly translated display rather than just a whole load of gibberish characters which would appear previously. The software is also faster and smoother. It will spool files to disk in the background so that you can get on with other work while your email is happening. There is better support for password and encrypted connections, better support for modern hardware, zero-page fixes for people running the zero-page builds from RISC Open. Basically a nice package of upgrades, plus ongoing technical support and service. The NetFetch 4 upgrade is £15, and it is available to take away on CD. The CD version also includes a version of Messenger and some web browsers as well. So basically, the NetFetch 4 CD is effectively a little internet suite on a disk. Obviously, the full Messenger Pro is recommended, but if you're just if you just buy the NetFetch, if you're sort of coming from public domain stuff or just setting out, then the NetFetch CD gives you everything you need to get going with email and browsing the web, etc. You've got things like there's NetSurf on there, the new Auto browser is on there, and obviously a copy of our whole browser Excel. Not also used these days, but it's there for completeness. So I think yeah, you get the idea. So those are 2 new software releases today. And finally, in the last few weeks, we've revamped our port of Doom with the help of Jeff Doggett. The 2 of us have been collaborating on that. Final Doom. The big change, I don't know whether you probably... Is there any way we can get audio out of this? One of the big changes is that historically with Doom, all the music was done as MIDI playback, which even on the RISC older machines, basically didn't have much in the way of MIDI unless you had dedicated hardware. A lot of people didn't. So and today MIDI is virtually unheard of. Pardon the pun. So we've revamped all the audio in Doom to use modern, high-quality digital audio. So for the first time, really for most RISC users, you'll be able to hear the Doom soundtrack as it was meant to be heard on top spec equipment when it was designed. So as far as I know, there aren't any other platforms that offer this level of playback. It's a unique feature to what we've done for this. So if I just feed that into the audio out, all being well, we will get we probably need to adjust the balance slightly, but I'm just saying. start, I won't stop. So basically, the new Final Doom pack includes two 32-level mission packs, they're official mission packs, plus 10 levels of the original Doom as well. So you've got an awful lot of Doom. We're charging £9.99 plus VAT, so it's £12 for it. It's available at the show with a leaflet, or you can download it from Plink Store. Significant update is that it supports, I was talking about the red-blue colour switch on the titanium. The new Doom supports that natively, so it's pretty much the only sort of full-screen application that displays correctly, I think, on titanium. So if you've got a titanium, strongly recommend the Doom port. A lot of work went into that, and you can play at silly resolutions and things. Yeah, and as far as I know, it's the best Doom experience we can deliver. It's a lot of fun, not too expensive, and if you've got more than a passing interest, I would strongly urge you to pick that up, because what we're trying to do is just sort of test the water to see whether it's worth revamping the rest of our games and things for the modern hardware. And we thought we'd test the water with Doom. So hopefully it's not priced at a too offensive price point, and it will give you a lot of fun. It supports multiplayer and literally 1,001 add-on levels and things that you can download off the internet and just drop in and play. And it's fully compatible with the original Doom packs that we sold way back when, so if you still happen to have your original copy of Doom that you bought in the 90s, you can drop that in for even more Doom fun. So, yeah, Doom, fireworks, Netflix, computers, fun. Does anybody have any questions?
We've got a roving mic if anyone wants to ask.
Dead silence.
Far too comprehensive there.
Well, and quick for me as well, I think. I'm usually talking for about an hour, so.
So just a quick one. The new machines. How do they compare speed-wise to, say, high-end RISC running virtually?
Well, that's an excellent question. Obviously, high-end virtual Lacon systems run many times faster than an Ionics, but we have found that the high-end ARMX6 time machine systems now do clearly outpace the virtual systems. There are areas where the virtual systems are superb. So, for example, anything involving disk access. A RISC cube can do sort of 600 megaseconds on SATA. The native machines are a fraction of that, and because of how Windows acts as a disk cache on top of that, not only do you get 600 megaseconds, but you also get 600 megaseconds plus the caching of the RAM is highly efficient. So you will still see anything sort of disk-based will be better on a on the RISC cube system. Conversely, anything that's sort of number crunching will be better. How much better? I'm sure I see Chris Hall sat in the hall, and Chris is king of benchmarks these days, so he would probably know better. But funnily enough, somebody actually asked something vaguely similar the week before the show, and Chris sort of sent me an email about that topic, so it's sort of quite a pertinent question. I seem to remember it was sort of something that was taking 2.5 seconds on a RISC cube. Well, I don't know quite what the spec of the RISC cube was, so it's a fairly vague thing. It was happening in sort of 1.5 seconds on the native machines. Is that about right, Chris, roughly speaking?
Yeah, I think it was 1.7 seconds on the titanium, 2 point something on the RX6, 2.7 or something, and about 3 or 4 5 seconds on the 3, 4, 5 seconds on Virtual RISC PC. The Virtual RISC PC people then suggested I try some 26-bit applications and compare the speed, and I haven't done that yet.
Obviously, a 26-bit application would run at native speed on the virtual Acorn, but we've got to run much slower because Emula does take quite a hit to the performance on the native hardware. Of course, it will vary depending on exactly what virtual Acorn system's running, what SSDs are being used, and so on and so forth. So there's quite a margin of error. But suffice to say that the native systems are king of the hill. But again, it's very much horses for courses. The advantage of a RISC system is that if you're running 26, if you've got any legacy software like Impression, things like that, then because the operating system is natively a 26-bit operating system, it can run 32-bit software, but it can also natively run the 26, which you can't do on the newer systems without Emula. Then you will have a smoother ride with a cross spectrum of software. That said, on the native hardware, one of the unique selling points of the machines that we sell is that we actually have different levels of compatibility built into the systems. So we can actually run software right back to the Archimedes era on these machines. So it's quite possible to run old sort of Chrysalis games from the 80s right forward to the modern applications. So you've got sort of, so there's 3 tiers of compatibility aids built into the system that you can take advantage of. So, and obviously you get that the standard with our machines, and also with the support scheme that I mentioned, with the titanium support scheme. So, horses for courses. Again, you can take advantage of fancy graphics cards on a RISC cube that you can't necessarily do so on the desktop machines. And the RISC cubes also give you greater compatibility with printers and scanners and things. You just plug them in and get Windows level compatibility of devices. So, horses for courses. Graphics wise, I think probably ARMX6 is king of the hill, although again a RISC cube with a graphics card can drive high resolution screens. I do, the big screen I have on the stand, I actually have connected to my RISC cube. But the interesting fact there is, and this may make folks smile, it was a darn sight easier to make it work on an ARMX6 than it was on my, literally with the ARMX6 all you do is plug it in and click a button to enable the HDMI stuff, and it auto detects the fact that it's a funny resolution with with the frequencies that it can do, and it just does it, and you've got audio and you've got everything just done. So when I plugged it in today, I literally double clicked an icon and boom, it was done. To actually get it to work on my RISC cube, which had an NVIDIA, probably £150 NVIDIA, £200 NVIDIA graphics card in it. I had to spend about half an hour doing custom timings on screen modes and being forced into 32,000 colours and sort of let my finger and stand on one leg. Eventually I got it to sort of settle, but I'm not looking forward to taking it home again because the machine has been connected to a different monitor. Whether it will snap back or... so suffice to say that RISC is in a really strong place right now in terms of connecting up to new monitors and things with the new machines, which is always nice. Anything else? Oh, yeah.
It's great that we've got all the updates to fireworks and everything else, Andrew, come on, and the machines themselves are fantastic in themselves. Without giving any commercial insight away, are there any opportunities that the machines give you now that you could develop new software to run on the ARMX6 and the Time Machine that some users may see as beneficial, particularly with second cores and fourth cores?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment the additional cores are locked off by nature of RISC, unfortunately. But that I think has got to be a goal. The ARMX6 offers you 4 cores, the Time Machine offers you a second core. So clearly leveraging those would be extremely desirable. Of course that means we need an operating system that can do that. That's certainly what a lot of the big brain folks working on the code are aiming for. Whether that happens sooner or later, I honestly don't know. What I see happening is a gradual sort of change of, if you imagine the sort of chess pieces being laid out and being positioned and what have you, it's a gradual process of things being set into motion. and that is occurring. I can very distinctly see that happening with each new version of the operating system that rolls out. Different bits will be updated and modified, and adjusted and rewritten, and error handlers are altered and this, that and the other, all with an eye to multi-core. But ultimately you have to remember that RISC OS is designed very strongly around the concept of one processor executing code and handing off between what we call cooperative multitasking. So one program hands off to the next program, hands off to the next program, hands off to the next program. So this is not intrinsically a design that lends itself to multiprocessing in the way that some other operating systems do. So there is a challenge there. Software-wise, one of the big updates that we did during the last 12 months in the ARMX6, which of course carries over to the Time Machine, was to update a number of applications within the disk image to take advantage of hardware floating point. So for example, the video playback stuff, PDF handling, PDF conversion, some of the audio stuff, etc., is now hardware accelerated using the VFP and Neon stuff present on the machines. And that's sort of, obviously that's a software side thing, but we were able to roll that out in one of what we call our super packs of software updates for the machine. That happened, I think last summer, something like that. So things are coming along on the software side. We also saw, sort of late last year, the development of a new web browser called Otter Browser. That wasn't handled in-house by ourselves, although the ARMX6 lead program did contribute some stuff to that project. So he was doing the builds for some time. So the Otter browser is obviously exciting because it's a more modern WebKit-based browser for RISC-OS, addressing a particular shortcoming of the operating system. And that's very much an application which takes advantage of as much processing power as you can throw at it, really, and disk and so on. And certainly the ARMX6 is pretty much where you want to be for that, or the Time Machine takes it even further. So that's certainly an example of software that is now possible that would not have been possible on previous generation hardware. I think there's still some way to go because you've got the cosmetic aspects of ported software looking a little bit wonky on RISC-OS kit, but also the way a lot of these applications are designed, they do take quite a long time to load, should put it that way. And I think that's partially due to how the way the software and things are structured, and that's something that needs to be worked on within the RISC-OS community to better cache and preload and what have you, these so-called shared libraries. But yeah, there are significant steps occurring. One of the things that, changing the subject slightly, one of the things that is quite exciting for us is that the fact that we have reliable modern hardware is opening up doors, again, outside of the traditional RISC-OS enthusiast market. The business customers are coming to us with needs for RISC-OS kit that weren't previously being met, that now are possible again. So we're seeing sales of ARMX6 boards, both full computers and the motherboard kits, which are actually slightly cheaper at the show. Price drop there. Are going into industrial uses, running RISC-OS, using this sort of database or email servers and things like this, and that's working really nicely. We've actually got some quite exciting projects waiting in the wings, but I can't really talk about those at this stage. But you know, the other thing to mention, which is something that's kind of unique about the way we go about doing the machines. When you buy an RComp machine, it's not just RComp that benefit from the sale of one of our computers. There are about half a dozen different companies who all individually benefit within the RISC-OS scene. When you buy one of the computers, it's a collaborative effort. So the purchase of a RISC cube or of an ARMX6 or whatever you choose is benefiting a number of companies within the scene and allowing the scene to flourish and grow behind the scenes. So the money that comes in is not just lining my pockets, putting food on my table, although that very much is appreciated. But it's having to do that for other people as well within the RISC-OS scene and keep a number of companies doing RISC-OS that would probably otherwise not be doing RISC-OS anymore, should have put it that way. And that includes overseas as well. So it's it's sort of almost an international venture, and that's why I sort of keep saying thank you to people who buy the machines, because it's helping us build a community effectively worldwide with the systems, and keep the RISC-OS flag flying in a way that wasn't possible a few years back. So, it leaves me incredibly busy and run ragged. But if you'd said to me this sort of in the late 90s when Acorn packed up that we'd still be run ragged with RISC-OS projects 20 odd years later, I'd have been very grateful. So yes, good times.
Just one.
Final one, Mark.
Sorry.
After me a quick.
Okay.
Forgive me for sitting down, but
You say there's some commercial interest in RISC-OS systems.
yeah.
What are you finding that the commercial people are finding attractive to make it work they want?
Several things. Firstly, software elements. That if you're not looking to have Windows on the system, in terms if you're just looking at it for purely practicality, some of the software solutions that we can offer with email servers, database servers, etc., offer very competitive. You can do a lot from a source of outlay, or you can have several machines doing things with very little power requirements, etc. It's an attractive small setup that you can just slot in. You don't need to know too much about it. You put it in and it just works. Reliability. These things don't require you to turn them on and off. They don't get Windows updates. They just sit there and they do the job. And the only time I know John Rawnsley, programmer on the operating system, the RMX6, was saying that one of his customers that he services fairly regularly. The only time their RMX6 servers have been off is when he's gone into the latest operating system build only. They never need resetting, and they just work. In that particular one instance, it's using an HTML web database system whereby the computer offers up, basically runs a complex database system and merges multiple databases, different nodes and all sorts of fancy stuff, that serves it out in HTML to the outside world. So people connecting to it don't care what they're actually connecting to. What they care about is that it always works and that they don't have any downtime. So those are the kind of things that are appealing to people. That they've got a solid system, works, it's easily adaptable, things like BASIC have an attraction in terms of being very simple to program, understandable. No stupid licensing. If you want a database server on Oracle, it's per core, thousands and thousands of pounds. Has to be rented by the year, etc., etc. They can have a full in-house custom database built with a RISC-OS system for a couple of grand. It's cost effective, it's low power, it's rugged, robust. Those are
Traditional RISC-OS values.
traditional RISC-OS values, but they still hold a lot of weight in industry. That unless you've got somebody who's totally cannot see past Windows, which frankly, yes, in IT circles that's the case, but if you go outside of IT circles to people who are just running businesses, they really don't care as she does the job, and that's what they want. And some are going into replacing traditional stuff that's been running off of sort of A7000s and IOXs and things like this, of course. And then you've got to ask, well, why are they still running those old systems? Well, because they've not felt there was anything to move forward to, and now there is. So, it's RISC-OS scene is certainly healthier, I would say, now than it has been for many, many years.
Okay, Andrew, I think we're going to have to finish there. We're ready for the next one.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Well, thank you for listening, and hopefully see you on the stream in a bit.